Okay. Hello, hello. Going live, going live. Yeah, can you hear me, Drew? Hello, hello. Can I be heard? Hello? Okay. I assume I can be heard and everybody's okay. That's good. Thank you. Um, got a lot of good questions, and I thought rather than going through them um, individually, a lot of them dealt with the same subject, and uh, so I want to cover that. The first thing was ETFs, and that really hit me strong because we're planning a very, and I thank this to Drew. Drew has set up an interview with Jim Rogers. If you don't know who Jim Rogers is, he's a guy about my age who is very noted in the hedge fund world and one of a very famous traders. And I've been watching some of his videos as a result of the fact that I'm going to be interviewing him at 11 p.m. on October the 7th because he lives in Singapore. And he made some very interesting statements relative to ETFs that kind of opened my eyes up. And what he basically said is an ETF is a dangerous place to be when the market is going down. It's a wonderful place to be when the market is going up, particularly if you're a very segmented ETF. And I know a lot of you use ARC, and I think that's a wonderful ETF. But as he says, if a market turns on you and starts going down, it forces that ETF to liquidate their funds. And as that happened, it becomes a cascade. And you get sold out even if you don't want to get sold out. So it adds to the pull down of a market turn down. So that's one of the prime questions I want to speak to Jim Rogers about. And as I say, we're doing the interview on October the 7th at 11 p.m. So it probably won't air by the time we get it edited and out, and maybe even approved by him. I don't know. It will probably run the 9th or 10th of October. Some other questions, and I want to speak directly to this, and that is what happens when the pandemic is over. I've been giving this a lot of thought, and it just rings. And I know a lot of you don't like to hear what I have to say about this, meaning that I think the market is in for some pretty rough times. And I recognize a lot of you weren't around in 1999, 2000, probably one of the worst times of my life. I was a financial advisor, and as the market collapsed, I had my life threatened by people in my office. Uh, why did you put me in all that technology, and why did it collapse? And I just see so many of the same things happening right now. Um, I went and closed this yesterday on my trailer court and was walking back with I guess it was about a $45,000 check, and I thought, well, you just hit the lottery, and that struck with me that that's kind of what's going on right now. Our economy has hit the lottery. Worldwide, I think it's close to $10 trillion has been pumped into the world's economies. That's a lottery win. What happens? What happens to 90% of the people who win a lottery? shortly after they win, within 3 years, they go bankrupt. Um, I'm seeing, I looked at the .com situation. That was a lottery. All of a sudden, there were all kinds of stocks just going crazy. And people were pumping money into them, and they were lottery winners. And I never remember. I remember reading that secretaries were becoming millionaires because the .com companies didn't have any money to pay them with, so they just gave them shares of stock, and that kind of turned it. And that's what I'm seeing now. I look at all these smacks or slacks and all these IPOs. We're actually pressing the amount of IPOs in 2020 that occurred in 1999, 2000. And the chasing of these companies that have yet to make any money. And that's exactly what happened in the .com bubble. And then liquidity came into play and said all that money went to these .coms and none of it was coming back, and the market crashed. The same thing happened in 2008 when the individuals were going out and buying all kinds of real estate because there was no cost of entry, there was no credit needed, and you just you bought a house, you fixed it up, you rented it, and you had a very low payment because you were paying interest only, and that was a lottery. It was a lottery win for everybody who got into real estate. Well, we've got another lottery going on right now. We know that there are going to be a ton of people once this pandemic is over, once the free money is done, that are going to be told, okay, now you have to start making your mortgage payments. Now you have to start making your college loan payments. Now you have to make your credit card payments, and they aren't going to have the money. There's going to be a lot of people that aren't going to go back to work. Commercial real estate is going to fall apart. Airlines are going to fall apart. Cruise ships. I've got from Royal Caribbean, who we've cruised a lot. I've gotten offers in the last 3 days to sign up for Royal Caribbean cruises for a third of what I've paid for them in the past. I won't do it, but I just think you need to be aware. I also want to address the fact that I'm 50% cash, and I'm very comfortable 50% cash. In July of 2019, I was 100% cash because I looked at the debt clock, and I saw debt going up, and no one addressing it, and no one having any fear to it. And I said, something's going to happen, that this balloon's going to bust. And did I know there was a pandemic? Hell no, I didn't know there was a pandemic. But I believe if it hadn't been that, it would have been something else. So as a result of that, when about March 25th came around and the bottom fell out of the market, and I said, if any of you were with me, this is a temporary event. I didn't think it would last this long, but this is a temporary event, and it's going to go away. So I'm going to buy into it, and I did. And as a result of buying into it, I'm up or was up 61%. Now it pulled back and I went to 50% cash. So now I'm only 51% up. I can live with that. Today I'm making money, even though I'm only at 50% cash. So when I say I'm going to 50% cash, I'm comfortable that knowing or very confident that sometime in the next year, there's going to be a day of reckoning and the lottery will be over. And the market is going to move accordingly. And I'll have at least 50% ready to buy in. Got some, and I love the fact that we have young investors. And they're asking me, what should I do? That was Papa Doc. By all means, read the books. Read The Future is Faster Than You Think. Read The Accidental Superpower. Read The Big Nine. If I were 25 right now and I saw what is happening, I'd point myself in the direction of commercial real estate. And why do I say that? Because it's going to fall apart and it's going to need a lot of help. And if you understand what's going on and how shopping malls are going to change the way they look, commercial office buildings downtown are going to change the way they look, I would find a way to get involved in that space because there's going to be a lot of money made on people who know what's going to happen, who can foresee and what's going to happen. And to that regard, read The Future is Faster Than What You Think. And there, even before the pandemic, they were predicting what certain things are going to happen in our downtown areas. And if you know that, you can be in a good position. As far as investing, dollar cost averaging, I could be wrong. From now on, our governments could be creating money off of printing presses and it never be paid. One of the questions I'm going to ask Jim Rogers is, I was raised under the understanding that your debt to GDP, and in GDP for an individual, that's your annual earnings, shouldn't be more than 3x. Well, our debt to GDP now is, I think, about somewhere around 105%, and everybody's going crazy about it because they say our grandchildren and our children are going to have to pay that debt back. And my question to Jim is, I heard that when I was growing up, that somebody was going to have to pay back the World War II debt. Well, nobody's paid it back yet. And then we were spending a ton of money in Vietnam, and nobody's paid that back yet. So is there, because governments don't die, individuals die. So those debts have to be paid back. You can't die with $3 trillion worth of debt and expect the world to go if you're an individual. But if you're a government, it goes on. So I don't have the answer to that question, but I just do not see, once the pandemic is settled, once the dust settles, that the Treasury is going to continue to print money. And if the Treasury doesn't continue to print money, then us individuals are going to have to pay our debt back. And I believe there's a big majority, and there's a lot of people saying, we're in a very good real estate market right now. Baby boomers are wanting to downsize, so they're interested in smaller homes. So that market is strong. But there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say, I can't pay my mortgage, and I can't pay the 9 months that I'm behind on it, and I can't pay my student loans. And the real estate market is going to take a hit on that. So there are some opportunities if you'll just recognize what's going to happen before it happens and put yourself in the place. And then, as I have said, if I were young, I would be in this digital space one way or other. I would find a way to create, much as I'm doing on YouTube. There's a tremendous opportunity. Tesla, a lot of questions I noticed in the sidebar here, a lot of questions about Tesla, what's going to happen. There's a lot of talk right now about Tesla, and in fact, the video that I'm going to shoot today, I usually do them in the morning, but I just had too much going on today, is going to be about Tesla. And the title of it is, I believe, Jack already did the thumbnail. I think it's Walmart tripled their orders of Tesla, and I'm going to buy more. Part of that is, yeah, I believe in Tesla, and obviously, and the semi truck, which is what Walmart is buying, is not going to be a big part of what Tesla is going to make their money on. The automobile industry is, but my research has also showed me that there's a lot of big name players, particularly Volkswagen and Nissan and BMW and Mercedes, that are going to be in that space. General Motors, they're not going to walk away from it. So Tesla doesn't have a monopoly on this, and we need to recognize that and take it into our consideration. Uh, Battery Day didn't turn out to be what a lot of people thought it would be. I was pleased that I saw that he that Elon is recognizing the need that he needs to produce his own battery. He makes a lot of outlandish statements. I think I think Elon and Donald are in something of a competition as to who can dominate the world's press at this time. But the fact is that Elon made a statement that he had 1,000 acres of desert land that he was going to mine on, and now they're searching and they can't find where he's bought the desert land. But I think Elon is far-reaching enough, and I'm of the belief that he has the software for the autonomous automobiles that Volkswagen doesn't, and a lot of other people don't, and so he's going to have an advantage there. And that's I think his big play. Then I got one a question about from who was it? Dr. Michael. Dr. Michael, I think he said he was 62 years old, and he's had a successful career. And I think I remember he said he had a second home in Maui. Good for you, Dr. Michael. And where was he going to fit, and what was he going to do? Please don't retire. I have so many friends who retired and they're getting fat and they're getting sloppy, and they don't walk evenly anymore. Yeah, okay, it was 10,000 acres. Never bet against Elon. Okay, maybe you know something I don't. But don't retire. Find something to do. Obviously, if you're on this channel, you have some interest in investing. I want to do, and I've alluded to it in a number of the videos. I want to take this beyond just me talking to you and you chatting on YouTube. I know that being a retired financial advisor, I was of the opinion, and I still continue to be of the opinion, that we don't have the capability to manage every end of our financial lives, and investing is only one part of it. I like to say that investing is a part of the offensive play of building wealth and financial planning, but you have to play defense too. I think most of you, or many of you, know that I lost my daughter to cancer when she was 40 years old. She had life insurance. If without that life insurance, her husband would have been up shit creek without a paddle, because she was the primary breadwinner. She was a financial advisor as well. So financial planning is essential. But I know a lot of you aren't comfortable doing it. You say, I don't want to go and talk to somebody I don't know about financial planning. So one of the things I want to do is, and I'm exploring it as we speak, is create a best of us university where I can bring other people in, financial advisors, lawyers, whatever, that can, for next to nothing, you can get the information you need. It's like I'm pressing a lot of you to say you need a side gig, and you need to set up a sole proprietorship, or a partnership, or a LLC, or a subchapter S corporation. Well, those are words you may not be familiar with. So I need to create a place where you can go and you can learn what those are. Now, you might say, well, why don't you do a YouTube channel on that, Kerry? Because that's micromanaging, and it's not going to get the traffic that we need to support this channel. So I need to use the word Tesla and Amazon and Google and in my titles to promote the channel. I don't think 52,000 is enough. I don't think I don't know that I'll ever make $1 million now, because of some things I'm seeing happening. But we need more than 50,000. So I want to do that. so that you have a place, so that if you're 27 years old and you're graduating from engineering school, and you want to set up a side gig, maybe you want to flip homes. Well, there's a starting point on that, and there's things you need to do to make it happen. And I don't know where you'd go to get that information other than maybe Best of Us Investors University. I get things. How do you set up a stop loss? I can't do a YouTube channel video on that, but I can do it within a confine where you can come and find it. So that's what I'm looking to do, and make a part of it. Another thing that I want to kind of address before is, I see on here, what do you think of? And I see 3 letters. I don't think about those. I don't. Don't ask me to go someplace I'm not comfortable. Don't ask me to do it, because I won't do it. And that's part of how I run my life. I run my life based on risk and reward. I have a $3,500 Pinarello bike sitting in my garage that I used to ride up and down the highways of this city. I've even ridden it on four-lane highways. But risk and reward said, get the hell off that thing. I came home one day and I told my wife, I know how I'm going to die. And she said, well, how's that? I said, I'm either going to get hit by a pickup truck driven by a teenager, or a Buick driven by a white-haired lady, because they're coming after me on the streets. And I know the last 3 words I'm going to say. 2 words. Oh, shit, as I get hit and fly into the ditch or get run over on the street. So I don't risk myself. I don't put myself in positions where I'm not in control. Okay. And when you buy an IPO like Snowflake or Lemonade, or Workhorse, or any of these bright, shiny objects, you're not in control. Do not convince yourself you're in control. If you got into Palantir yesterday, you're not in control. Hell, nobody's in control of that. Nobody knows what they do. So don't put yourself in that position unless you have some inside information. And God help you if you do that and get caught at it. Do you remember Martha Stewart went to jail for something like that? But look at her come back strong. Go for it, Martha. Don't do that. Investing is about putting your money in companies that are going to make your life better, and you're going to be in a position to profit from them. If you're 27 years old and you're getting involved in IPOs, why would you do that? You got time on your side. If that would be something I should do if I needed to make my next month's mortgage payment, and I was willing to roll the dice. Again, I want to go back to the statement I made the other day. This isn't my doing. I heard this statement that the casinos in Las Vegas operate on a 25 to 30% profit margin, meaning that 70 to 75% of the people that go into a casino make a winning bet. 70 to 75% of the people that go into the casino make a winning bet, yet 90% of the people who walk out of the casino have lost money. Well, how can that happen? Because they're doing things in the casino that they don't have an idea what's going on. They pull a lever or push a button on a slot machine. Have you ever understood or wondered why most of the real estate in a casino is taken up by slot machines? Because that's where they make their money, because that's a fool's bet. Well, that's true in the stock market too. 90% of the people lose money because you're playing against professionals. The people who make money in the casino are people who aren't playing against the house. They're playing against the competitors themselves, other people like them, and they're just smarter than the other people at the poker table, or they're at the blackjack, the blackjack table, and they can count cards. And once they figure that out, they throw them out. So treat the stock market just like it's a casino. and you go in knowing that you're the best poker player at that table. And if you figure out you're not, you get up and go find another table. If there's somebody there who's going to beat the shit out of you because they have an algorithm and it's plugged, Elon has put a chip in their head, get up from the table. Don't play that game. Okay. Subtitles, please. Dude, thank you. Okay. Some other questions that I was taken by. A very long letter, and which I appreciated, relative to apparently in the furniture business, and commenting that, here it is, it was by Eddie Mund. Interesting letter. He was notified by his supplier. Apparently he's in the furniture business, and he's noticed that Wayfair and some of these stocks are just going crazy, and he's notified that that they're going to have to charge him more for shipping and delivery, because the cost of bringing it, there's the cost of bringing it back from China and moving it across the. I've experienced the same thing, Eddie. I'm building these houses. And we got the slab done, and my contractor came to me and said, the cost of lumber just went up 40%. Whoa. If you think about a house, there's a lot of lumber in a house. And he said, we got a choice. We can wait until we can just stop and wait until the pandemic passes. And we think lumber prices will come down, or we're going to have to pay it and push it off to the buyer of the house. And I said, I'm not going to sit here and buy the lumber, pay the higher price. But I know that's a temporary event. I've got 40 other lots out there that I can build on. So I know. So if I don't make my margins there on this ones, I can absorb that. I'll still make a profit, but I may not make my margins. And I think, Eddie, that's kind of the situation that you're dealing with. This pandemic is a temporary event, and it will pass. I got another comment about what was it? Investing in the vaccine companies. That's a temporary event, and I'm not so sure that it'll be a profitable event. If you've got to pass that vaccine that is life-saving to populations, I don't know if you're going to get a big markup on it. And if in fact you have the vaccine that is the winner and you can't manufacture them fast enough, because again, this isn't just in the United States, this is in the world. The government could very easily step in and say, give us your formula. We're gonna pass it on to your 7 biggest competitors, and they're going to be able to make it too, so we can get that thing distributed as fast as I can. So I'm not going to invest in this vaccine thing. I'm again, and I want to really emphasize, can you talk about the Tesla price, and is it overvalued? I shouldn't divert myself that way. I think the vaccine is going to pass. I think once the vaccine comes, there's a day of reckoning, and that's possibly when the market will see its drop. And so I'm not going to play that game. Again, I just want to emphasize that my premise, and no matter what your age is and what your situation is, invest in those companies that are going to change the way you live. Peter Lynch started that with the Magellan Fund when I first got into investing, and he used to say his investments were driven by his observations on Saturday afternoons to see which stores had the fullest parking lots, and that's why he was a big investor in Walmart. So that's the way I approach it. I don't chase shiny objects. Tesla's price, I think, is fair. Um, I think Tesla's brightest days are in front of it, and I'll share that in tomorrow's video why I think that's true. Because I really I go back to the big nine. Our world is going to be driven by data. It was fair to say, as I was growing up, our world was driven by oil. And if you would invest in companies, oil companies and automobile companies, you would have done extremely well. But data is what's going to drive our country. I saw some questions over here about the oil industry. I'll never again invest in anything that has anything to do with oil because I just think it is so obvious that that electric automobiles, and yeah, sure enough, oil is going to be used in airlines if we have a airline industry of any magnitude to what it is now. I think you need, airlines are going to go the way of railroads, that it's going to be a governmental owned situation. My opinion. Again, that's my opinion. I just don't see how they're going to ever recover from this. When they were flying, they've been flying empty airplanes for what, 8 months now, and they've been borrowing money. Now, some of the airlines didn't take the latest money, so I thoughts about the Apple car. I know absolutely nothing about the Apple car. I know something about the Oscar Mayer mobile, but I don't know anything about an Apple car. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Let me look at, and again, I want to point to the overwhelming results that this YouTube channel has produced. And I just encourage each and every one of you to find a way into it. And if it's not YouTube, maybe it's Shopify. I know there's some of you who have said your retail business has been saved by Shopify. And if you have a niche and you have a product that Amazon can't sell, and you can create a marketing program for it. Something else I think it has been enlightening to me. I get phone calls probably once a week from people who say, I have an expertise and I want to help you. I want to be involved with you. Well, what does that mean? That means they don't want a fee for their services. That's right. They don't want a fee for their services. They want a partnership. And what level of partnership is that? That's to be determined. But if you have something you can do and you have a niche that you can grab hold of, then go look for partners. I've got in the last live session, I spoke about a gentleman who wrote me and said he couldn't do a part-time gig because he worked 10 to 14 hours a day, and I addressed that he should go into flipping homes and use his credit and find a painter that had no credit. Well, that individual has written me back and said, as a matter of fact, he says and I told him he needed to get into flipping homes. His sister-in-law, I think it is a real estate agent. His brother-in-law is a contractor. And they said to me, okay, what's the next step? And so I gave them 4 things to do: to go out and identify the homes, and then we'll get on a one of these and we'll talk about it. And that's again where when we do that, I will record it and I will put it into the college, or the university, so that when you think you might want to do that, you don't have to start from scratch. You know that you will know by watching that video what questions to ask your banker. You will know or have some ideas as to what kind of structure you should set up. Should it be a sole proprietorship? And what are the advantages and disadvantages and the costs associated with each of them? That's what I want to do. And that's what I want to bring to you. And I want to bring it to those who are a part of the tribe. I don't want to make that public. I want it to make it available to those people who make a commitment to me that they will share their knowledge and share their experiences. Along that same line, I'm going to be announcing that we're going to write another book. If you remember, I said that I needed somebody to write my next book, and I've got two people working on it. One is Rocco, and Rocco is going to write an anthology. That was prompted, if you remember the video that I did on Judy, where Judy was a retired lady and said she just wasn't sure that she and her husband were going to be able to make it through retirement on their Social Security and the little bit of savings they had. And I realized that people could learn from Judy if she would tell her story, and then we could possibly respond to it. Another one, Rodney, wrote me, and he calls himself the Chicken Mafia. He has 7 chicken farms, and he doesn't know what to do with the $15,000 to $20,000 a week of profits that he's making, and he doesn't know how to structure his company. Well, I want Rodney to give us his story, and I want Rocco to interview him and create that story so that then we can put that in this book, and we can have maybe 30 stories, and you can learn from it. And you can share it. And if Judy wants her name on it and take credit for it, fine. If she doesn't, we'll call it Alice. If Rodney doesn't want his, we'll call it Chicken whatever. So those are the kind of things I want to take this to, and make it something special and something that is you can't find anywhere else. And along that line, that's the kind of phone calls or the phone calls and the emails that I'm getting. And I want you to know that, because if you have an idea and if you get it out there in the public, it's going to work for you. And let me give you an example of that. Some of you have seen the interview I did with Trent, my son. And as a result of that interview, he's picked up about 12 new clients, because some of you related to him and said, can I talk to you? And he's talked to them. So how does that apply to you? Should you become Trent's client? No, you're missing my point. My point is, if you've got a niche, I'll give you exposure, just like I gave him exposure. Just like I'm going to give Jim Rogers exposure. I'll do an interview like I did Ran in, I forget where he was from. Like I'm working with a guy who does, it slips my mind. He does tours of Normandy in France. And I'm going to feature him on this station and help his business grow. So when you go to France and you go to Normandy, that's who you go with. That's my goal, to help you achieve your goals. My ultimate goal is to help you build wealth. And it's not that difficult if you'll start early enough. I think I have shared with you the spreadsheet that I did, and I used $56,000 a year, because that's the total that one person can put in either a solo IRA with no salary requirements. You could make $56,000 and use a solo IRA and put it all into that IRA, or you can set up a SEP, and it can be, I think it's 20% of your salary. That if you'll do that and you'll get 15% annual return, and you might say, you can't get 50. Yes, you can. For the last 2 years, I've averaged, even with me at 50% cash right now, for the last 2 years, I think I've averaged somewhere around 45%. And all I've done is invest in companies that are going to change the way I live. And you know who the 7 of them are. And when the bottom fell out, I bought a few opportunity stocks. I bought American Express at its down. I bought Valero at its low. I bought Disney at its low. I bought McDonald's on its low. And that was just easy pickings. But know that it's going to happen again. It is going to happen again. So it's foolish, to my way of thinking, to have all your money invested so that when it does happen again, you can't take advantage of it. And God, do not get into those margin accounts. That's another thing that really has got me scared right now, is that margin lending and margin buying is at the highest in the history of the stock market. That means, yet bank deposits are at the highest they have been in near history. Now, how can that be? That part of the market is leveraging, borrowing against their holdings to buy more, and yet there's more bank deposits, there's more exits in mutual funds. That means the smart money's running for cover. That means the smart money's sitting like me in 50% cash. So, as I was saying, with 15% return over 30 years on $56,000 deposited each year, you will end with $27,997,000. That's just you don't spend $56,000 at Starbucks, but I'll bet you if you cut out things that you don't, if you weren't a fool like me and we don't have $200,000 worth of automobiles in our garage anymore, because the Porsche's at the shop getting $4,000 worth of work done on it, and they've had it for over a week. Do not do what I've done. Do not. The next car is a BMW. Don't do that. So, is this possible? Is it possible to accumulate $27 million? Yeah. Now, is $27 million in 30 years the same as $20 million, $7 million today? No. I remember when I was living in Minnesota, and a fraternity brother drove all the way up from Logansport, Indiana, to come visit me. Well, he was a Northwestern Life salesman, and he sold me a $70,000 life insurance policy. So I'm guessing I was 25. That was about 50 years ago. A $70,000 life insurance policy today, it'll bury you, but it won't do a whole lot more. So it's all relative. But you can do this. You can achieve this kind of level of wealth. And then the beauty of it is, and this is something you will not realize until you get my age and you've accumulated money, part of your reason for being on Earth and part of your reason for engaging in sexual activity is to produce children. And those children produce children. And it's part of your responsibility, to my way of thinking, to help them have a better life. And you do that through getting them educated. And you do that by helping them live good lives. What's all that all about? Are these revelations? Slide and FN. Are these revelations? Is that what the aha means? I don't know, but you're kind of dominating the space. I guess you're copy and pasting and keeping anybody else from having anything to say. We have an asshole here. I kind of agree. I kind of agree. We have an asshole here. And this is something we're going to have to do. we got assholes on the YouTube channel too, and they come on and they sell their ideas and their financial advisors. We're going to find a way to get rid of them. They aren't a member of our tribe, and we're going to get rid of them. And somehow we're going to make this a little bit more exclusive. A million is probably too many. I guess that's the realization that I'm coming to. Okay. Is this question an answer or just boring? Hey, there's an exit button right down here anytime you want to use it. Please reply to this. I have 100,000 saved and I want to invest into stocks. Should I invest half now and half then? Let me answer that question. We've got 4 lines of copy there, and you are asking me a $1 million question for a financial advisor. I don't know a damn thing about you. I don't know that you have a wife or you have children. I don't know your health situation. I don't know. So I can't answer that question. I would be a damn fool to try to answer that question. That's another question was in here. What about dividend stocks? Dividends are income. And if you take that income, you're going to pay taxes on it. There was another question in here that I think was very astute. If I've got a 20% gain in a stock and I think the market is going to collapse and I sell it and it's a short-term gain, I could own 40% of my 20% gain to the government. So now I'm down to a 12% gain. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't make sense, particularly if it's in a stock that you believe that's going to be worth more 16 months from now. No, don't give that government. But on the other hand, my question to you is, why don't you own it in a qualified account? Why don't you own it in an IRA or a solo 401k? Why didn't you do the proper planning so that you could sell it at a profit, keep those profits, and wait for the market to go down and buy back in? That's because all you are is a trader. You're not an investor. You didn't read the right books before you got into this game. So you're exposed to some things that aren't going to be fun. Capital gains. Now, you can offset them with capital losses, but you need to know what the hell you're doing. You wouldn't do this with your money only in 2 places would you act so foolishly. One is in the stock market and the other one is in Las Vegas. More of these, moderate your chat room to you. I don't know what that's all about. I'm from Buenos Aires. Thank you for. So, I guess my best message to you is educate yourself. I see a thing. Stimulus is coming. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Is it a good thing to win the lottery or is it a bad thing, particularly when there are consequences? And if there are consequences, you need to consider them early on. ARK Investments added a new penny stock. What are your thoughts on that? I'm disappointed in Kathy. I really am. I respect her. I wish I had done what she has done. But a penny stock is a slot machine. And unless you were there and you're in there and you know something that the rest of the market doesn't know, but a penny stock is a penny stock because that's what it's worth, a penny or 87 cents. And for you to think that you're going to beat everybody else just because you read something on Seeking Alpha or Motley Fool. And that was another question. Where do you do your research? That's an excellent question. The best place to do your research is in an annual report. Yeah. Um, the second best place is in the notes of the annual report. You can go online and pull up any company's annual report and you can read it. And I would ask you, how many annual reports have you read? Then I would ask you, in your annual report, you're going to see their profit and loss statement. And you're going to see and then I would ask you to go look at their tax return. You can pull that up, do your research. And then if you've done that on a penny stock and you still believe that that's something you should invest in, by all means invest in it, because I'll guarantee you, if you've read the annual report, you've read the notes in the annual report, and you've pulled their tax statement, you know more about that company than probably 99.99% in the world. And that 0.001 that knows more of you is the CFO and the CEO of the company, because nobody else reads the annual reports. I'll guarantee you that your financial advisors don't, and I'll guarantee you that your certified financial analysts don't. They read the market. They don't read the annual reports. Saw a question there that said, which candidate is best for our economy? I'll check none of the above. I'm sorry. I think it's pathetic that in this country of freedom, that's the best we can do. And I don't know if it's because Bloomberg. I would have voted for Bloomberg. But no, I'm sorry that that's the best we can do. And I look at our Congress, and I'm sorry that that's the best we can do. And I don't know if it's we don't pay them enough or whatever. Thoughts on IRA or IBM? I'm glad you asked that, because I haven't addressed it in a while, and it is one of the big six. I don't know what IBM is. I know it stands for International Business Machines, but I don't know what they do. I know they are probably a leader in quantum computing, but I don't know how they're using that to their advantage. I know that they have Big Blue, that they play chess, and what's that other game that they play? But I don't know who IBM is. I know who Amazon is. I see reports where they're going to have where I can read my palm of my hand at their Go store and pay my bill. I won't even need my phone to that's a statue in Switzerland, I believe it's Switzerland or Sweden, that I took a picture of. No, I don't know who IBM is, and they aren't forthcoming on who they are and what they're doing. So I don't own them. And until I do understand them, a cool company doing cool things, but they do not know how to make money. Okay. Okay, David. Is that David? Yeah, David Park. So yeah, they don't, and maybe they do, and it's all coming in the future. But until I see it, I don't think I'm going to play that game. Shitcoin. That's something else. Why do people use that kind of language? And when I was playing football in high school, our assistant football coach said bad language, and I use bad language about Helion. Is a lack of vocabulary. Hyliion. Could I talk about Hyliion? I was captivated by Hyliion. I was captivated by their CEO, and I thought, wow, that's a beautiful story. But it was. It appears now it was all a lie. I am just so sorry that people like that can do what they do. To push the truck down the hill was one thing, But to say that you designed the truck and you designed it when you were 13 years old, and the truth comes out that you went to some ex-Soviet country and paid somebody $1,000 for their design, um, I just think it's a good lesson, though. It's a good lesson for you to know and to learn what can happen in such a sophisticated world as the stock market. That that there are still people out there who will just look you right in the eye and just lie to you and build something out of something that doesn't exist. Just it troubles me that people wake up every morning with the sole purpose of stealing my money. I've never been robbed. I've had my car broken into, and I had an old 928 Porsche. I loved that thing. And some kids broke into it and tore the radio out of it, and it never was the same thing. I bought it used, so I didn't pay full price on it. But Nikola, again, they're fighting an uphill battle against Tesla. And it's not just Tesla. There's a whole established industry in trucks and automobiles. And to think that you can start from the ground up and overcome these people, I think at best is that somebody like General Motors, who needs to redefine themselves, and Ford, who needs to redefine themselves, would buy some of them. I don't think Tesla ever would. I think it's that's kind of an anomaly that Tesla has been able to do what they've done. And again, it comes from, think about that. What's the difference between Elon and the founder of Hyliion? Elon had all the money he needed from his prior .com ventures. This gentleman who and his name Mellon, I think is his last name, he didn't come from any of that. So he had to possibly lie. He had to make some deals with the devil that Elon just didn't have to do. So, as I always say, when you buy a company, buy the owner, buy the founder. I like Square because I like Jack Dorsey. He's the kind of guy that I'd like to go have lunch with. He's the kind of guy I'd like to interview on this channel. He doesn't look like he's an easy interview, but that's what I buy. I'd love to have lunch with Jeff Bezos. Jeff, if you're watching, I'll fly to Seattle. I'll do that. So those are my thoughts. We're running. I'm going to just try to catch a few. Is the wow? I don't know. Again, I guess the what I want to leave you with is, don't be afraid to educate yourself. Don't be afraid to become the smartest guy in the room. And by that I mean, if you don't like to read, do what I do. Subscribe to Audible. For $15 a month, you get a book every month, and it forces you to learn. Because I'm not going to waste that $15. I'm going to get a book and I'm going to listen to it. Right now, I'm listening to two of them, actually. One is about the founding of Netflix, a very interesting book because I'm building a business and I'm learning how they built the business. And so that was, and then the other one is this lifespan. And that's of interest to me because it's how to live longer. So I have a invested interest in that. Gold stocks. That was another question. When I say I'm going to 50% cash, am I going to put it in gold and silver? No, I still believe in the American dollar, and I know where it's at. And to buy gold or silver is to enter another variable into the equation. So rather than X plus or minus Y equals, Now you have X plus or minus Y plus or minus C, and you have just blown up the possibilities and put me out of control. I don't control the American dollar, but I feel I understand it better. And Jeff Power, hyperinflation may be coming. I don't think so. Inflation is going to require increased interest rates. Now, inflation in lumber, yeah, went up 40%. Inflation in freight, yeah, it went up. And those prices will be passed on. But I think real inflation comes when interest rates go up and everything goes up in price, because at the same time lumber is going up and freight is going up, rental prices are coming down for commercial real estate. There are some things that are coming down, and so gradually in the next month. I did not say the market is going to crash in the next month or two. No, I did not say that. I said, and if I did say it, I want to amend it. I said, I don't want to be in the market 100% until after the election. And then shortly after the election, whenever that might end, I will make a new decision. That is my decision point. That is when I reassess and say, do I want to start dollar cost averaging in? Do I want to go all in? Or do I want to take more out? I don't know what my decision is going to be at that point, but I know between now and then, I want 50% of cash on the sideline. Do I think the market will crash before then? No, because there's too many variables. There's too many possibilities. But at the same time, I recognize there's tremendous chaos. There is tremendous. I haven't seen this kind of chaos. The last time I saw it was after Lehman Brothers went belly up. Is that all the banks? And if you'll watch, God, you have to watch The Big Short. If you'll see, and then you'll understand that the people that you're putting all your faith in don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. They really don't. And you think those bankers know what they're doing. No, they don't. They're playing it day to day, just like you are. And they don't know. They haven't even read the accidental superpower. They don't even know that the demographics in China are all screwed up. They don't know that the demographics in Japan are all screwed up. They don't know why Japan is moving all their manufacturing to Africa and other countries. They don't know these things. I shared with you that I had a friend who was a middle manager at Regions Bank, and I said to him, Seth, have you read the Accidental Superpower? He said, no, I don't know what that is. And I said, if you'll read it, you'll be the president of the bank within the next 5 years. And so I saw him 3 months later at a Christmas party. I said, Seth, have you read the Accidental Superpower? He said, no, I haven't had time. If it's that easy, why don't you take the time to do it? Why don't you take the time to educate yourself, to push yourself into the 1 percentile? It's truly that easy. Oil will continue, and then Tesla will start to sell at $25,000 a car. Oil will continue when Tesla starts to sell, or will crumble. Well, they don't need to get it to 20. In Norway, and that's part of the video I'm going to do tomorrow, in Norway and California, it's tough to buy an internal combustion engine. 60% of the cars in Norway are electric today. It's difficult to buy a combustion engine. I will guarantee you, I was in Vietnam a number of years ago, and they didn't want automobiles in their country, so they put a 100% tariff on it. So if you bought a $30,000 Chevrolet, it cost you $60,000. There are more and more countries who are going to say that you can't have a internal combustion engine because we don't want you polluting our skies. That's a given. So to think that Exxon will ever come back, to think that Marathon, that Mobil will ever come back to what they used to be, tells me you haven't educated yourself. You don't know what's coming. You don't know that Uber and Google have flying cars that'll travel at 150 miles an hour, and they look like my drone, except they'll hold 6 people. My drone won't hold 6 people. That's where it's going. So don't try to make something out of something that was of the past, and don't try to make something out of something that is so far-fetched in the future. Just invest in good, strong companies. And if you have something that you think is going to be the next future company, call me or email me after you have read their corporate report, their annual report, and you've totally digest their balance sheet. Now you're an expert. Would I look into Twillo, Twlo? No, I won't. I don't know what Twillo is. And if I don't know what it is, it's probably not going to change the way I live. So, okay. I've run 7 minutes over. I enjoy this. Pinterest, that's one I missed. And tell me why Pinterest is going up like it is. I did a video on it. I said I wanted to buy it because I think Pinterest will be bought by one of the big 6. But right now somebody's lit a fire under it, and it's doing extremely well. And that's I keep seeing Suncor is going down every day. What are your thoughts on oil sector? I think I've expressed that. I'm changing my thoughts on the oil sector. Part of the $4,000 bill on the Porsche is an oil change. To give you an idea of why you never want to own a Porsche, she's got over 90,000 miles on it. It's due for its service. It's 15,000 mile service. Do you know what that service is costing me for an oil change and new liquids and new $1,600? Yeah. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't make my mistakes. And I should tell you why she drives a Porsche. I don't know, probably back in the 90s, I kept buying her Christmas presents and birthday presents, and I never could get anything that she liked. And I said to her, "What is it you really want for Christmas?" And she said to me, "I think I'd look awfully good in a Porsche." And so I went and bought her a Porsche. A big mistake. It was a 911, and it was just two rear wheel drive, and that sucker would hydroplane. I mean, you got it up to 120 miles an hour on a wet road, and the front end just come off the pavement. Now you say, what the hell are you doing driving 120 miles an hour on a wet road? Well, why else do you own a Porsche? So I bought her. We traded that in, and we got a 4-wheel drive, and now that thing just hugs the road like whatever. So I lost my virginity in a Porsche. Holy shit! That must have been a tight squeeze. Oh my god. Oh, I love that. I love that. Mine was in a Mustang, a 69 and a half Mustang. No, 64 and a half Mustang. Yeah. Yeah. Wish I still had that. Okay. I'm going to say goodbye. This is fun. Um, Palantir is a gamble. Come on, it's a gamble, not an every IPO is a gamble. That is not an investment. It is a gamble. And the way they're doing these under this Slack thing where you don't know what the hell you're buying. And they don't, and it hasn't, it's been run through by some TV personality, Open Door, that has made his money elsewhere, original investors and original people in Facebook, and you give him a lot of credit and you put him a lot of credibility, and he openly admits on CNBC he's getting paid $90 million to do this personally, and you buy his Open Door. I think you should have bought the back door and closed it behind you. No, folks, this is not a legitimate game you're playing. There's all kinds of crooks in there, and they wake up every morning trying to figure out how to bankrupt you, how to empty your 401k. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye. Let's do this. Let's do this again in about 2 weeks. All right. Take care.